taking time on your Thursday evening to come and have a chat with me. I'm sorry that we're not in our gallery in New York looking at our incredible exhibition and taking you through our space and introducing you to my colleagues. But what we're gonna do instead is, I thought I would have a 20, 25-minute chat about kind of from my time at Hobart to where I am now, how that happened, what incredible people that you all have at your fingertips in Geneva that helped to make that transition occur for me. And then I put together I promise you it's not boring. I put together a visual slideshow of just some really incredible exhibitions that were really transformative to me thus far during my career, and talk a little bit about how they came to fruition and really their impact on the world at the time that the shows took place. And then I'm going to show a 50-second video of an exhibition that's actually still on view. It ends tomorrow. It's at Frankel Gallery in San Francisco, which is where I used to work before I moved to New York and joined DC Moore. And it's a video about their current exhibition, which is called I'm Not the Only One. And it's a show about COVID-19 and about ways in which us as art historians, as artists, makers, I'm assuming some of you are art historians, some of you are painters, sculptors, printmakers. Really, it's a show about how we as a world can connect through visual discourse, and ways in which, we're in weird times. You're at school, you're trying to really figure out day by day how you're navigating through the world that we're in. I'm doing the same in New York City. And I can only imagine, I was telling Brianna this earlier today, like, I don't know how I would be if I was in Geneva right now going through this experiences, so I applaud all of you for trying to really just navigate through this tumultuous time that we're in. However, I do feel, as we're all huge lovers of art, that it's important to really look at work that we connect with and talk about it with your classmates, with your families, with your professors. And so this short little video is a show that my former boss curated that ends tomorrow. And it's just, I have to tell you, I saw the video. It was so captivating. I remembered that. And when Brianna and Alicia Kaplan and I were talking about having a chance to chat with you all, I thought it would be great to kind of bookmark that conversation with this video. And then I really want to take any and all of your questions. Anything that you feel you want to ask, please consider me a safe space. I would love to be a resource to all of you. I was in your position. I mean, I graduated in 2001, a long time ago, but 1999, 2000, I was really trying to figure out what I really wanted to do when I finished college. So ask away. And, any way I can try to really provide some insight to all of you during this time, that's my goal. So I want to say, after my freshman year of college, I was having a conversation with two incredible professors, Philia Yee, Nick Ruth. I'm assuming some of you have them as your professors. They continue to be leaders and role models in my life today. And I had always expressed to them, I never thought I was going to be an artist. I was never going to be someone that was going to be as successful as you all are with making your work, or writing some scholarly paper on art that's of importance. But I always was interested in the global art world. I was always interested in what art was doing for the world outside of Hobart. And every single month, on the beginning of the month, I would run to the library. At that time, digital means were much different than they were and are today. And every month I would pick up the most recent copy of Artforum, which at the time still is, but at the time was really like my gateway. It was like my chance to see what was going on in the global art world through exhibitions in New York and LA and London and in different places around the world. But although I didn't understand a lot of the articles, I would read them, and I would have difficulty understanding a lot of the like highbrow art language. I still was very excited by the visuals. I was excited by looking at different shows happening at galleries and I always just was very fascinated by the industry of the art world. And I knew that a museum was probably not going to be something that I wanted to do for a career. And I wasn't interested so much in an auction house like Christie's or Sotheby's, where yes, they plan exhibitions, but it's really about work coming in, the work is shown, and the work is sold. I was more interested in exhibitions happening at galleries really taking themselves out of their boxes to be able to allow a platform, a physical brick and mortar space for an artist to be able to exhibit work that's of importance to them. And I expressed very candidly to Professor Ruth and Professor Yee that, I really read this magazine, and it's something that has always been an inspiration to me every month. What do I do with that? I know that there's a list. I didn't know that it was called a masthead at the time, but there was a list of people that work at the magazine. I knew that there was a telephone number. I knew that where their address was in New York City. And Nick said, you have to send them your resume. I will help you build a resume. And you are so obsessed with reading this magazine every month, you are going to land yourself an internship at that magazine. And we did some role play. I talked with Philia and Ted Obb about it. I just really I wanted to try to make this happen. At the time, the internet, email was not what it is today. I mean, when I was at Hobart, there was no online course. You wouldn't sign up for your classes online. You had to wait in line with your friends outside the registrar's office, hopefully getting the class that you want. It was just a very old school, different system. I see one woman in the audience being like, wait a minute, how does that happen? So I literally wrote a cover letter, and they helped me with my resume with an old school computer, mailed it to Art Forum International in New York, hoped for the best. And I heard nothing. I sent it, nothing happened. So I talked with Nick about it. I was very discouraged, and I said, I really tried to give this my best shot, and nothing has come of this. And he said, you're gonna call. I think we were on a spring break or something. He was like, you're gonna call the magazine, and your assignment during your break is to call this magazine. So it just so happened that I sat down. I was super nervous. I was like, how do I do this? What do I say? What do I not say? So I just picked up the phone, called the magazine. Miraculously enough, the publisher of the magazine happened to be walking by the reception desk. The receptionist wasn't in the office yet. It was early in the morning. I wanted to get it done immediately. I was like, I'm gonna call. It's gonna be my line of business in the morning, and then I don't have to be nervous about it for the rest of the day. So he picked up the phone and he said, Art Forum International. And I didn't know what to say. I just said, my name is Peter Colon. I'm a sophomore at Hobart and Wayne Smith Colleges. I just wanted to be in touch with you because I'm going to be your summer intern. And I just wanted to know when I can come to New York and when we can discuss where my desk will be and my email, and we should start the onboarding process. I had no idea what I was talking about. I just went for it. And I was just because Nick told me, he was like, you want to work in a really cutthroat, competitive industry. You have a lot of people that are trying to compete for opportunities. Just go for it. And I went for it. I mean, what do I have to lose? The worst that they'll do is hang up on me. But so the publisher laughed, and he was like, oh, I didn't know that we had set up a position for you here at the magazine. I was like, well, we were going to get together to actually talk about what my actual role, my job responsibilities will be, and how much I'm going to be able to be involved with the publication. So I was on a bus to New York. 3 days later, I met with him and the team, and I worked at the magazine during all of my semesters, my semester breaks from sophomore to senior year of college. And I did anything that they needed me to do. I would, from menial tasks to really making sure that the editors and the writers had what they needed. So I ran a lot of errands. I organized closets. I got people coffee. I mean, I had no ego. I was just happy to be at the table. I was happy to have a seat at the table. And what do I need to do to make sure that I keep that seat? And there were 4 other interns that were with me that first summer. And not to talk ill will about anybody, but some of them had some egos. Some of them came from like much more privileged backgrounds than myself. But the difference between me and them was I would do anything. I had no qualms about whatever was needed for the job to take place. I was there to be there for that. And they appreciated that, because I think that the magazine said to themselves, this person really is committed towards the business needs of what it is that we need to do. So I met some really incredible people. I got to really get a sense of what the publishing promotional side of the art world was like. But I want to say one of the best experiences that I had there, that was really the moment that made me realize that actually I don't want to work in magazines. I want to try to see if I can find a position in a gallery. Was we did a magazine. It was the September issue. Very much like in the fashion world, September is like the issue. It's the beginning of the season. And they were debuting a new series of portraits by the photographer Cindy Sherman. I'm not sure if any of you have heard of her. If not, she has an exhibition up in New York right now at Metro Pictures, her gallery. So Cindy was coming to the office to she's very involved in her career, not only at her actual representative gallery, but also any way in which her work is promoted, she's a part of it. So she came, and I got things ready for the meeting, and I kind of set up the conference table. And I wasn't going to be in the presentation, but I just wanted to make sure that the editors and writers had all the tools necessary to be successful, so they didn't have to worry about anything. So when she arrives, they could just get down to business. They presented 20 different cover spreads. So they were all in this room where they kind of had them all up on a light box. She went around, gave her opinions about what she liked, what she didn't like. And the great thing was my manager at the magazine, who is still there. He is two people down now from the editor. He's the managing editor, Jeff Gibson. He said, why don't you just stay here? He knew that I wanted to be in the room. He knew that I was like, this is the moment, but I, of course, couldn't say anything. He's like, you just stay in the room and take notes. So you can be here and be aware of the conversation. But if we need anything, we can count on you to get what's needed. So, and I just loved having the artists come to the office and being a part of just listening to this conversation. And then that's when I knew that I wanted to be an art dealer. I knew that I wanted to be in an environment where I was going to help really promote artists' careers and work towards building a conversation towards really themes or concepts or ideas towards a show. So I came back. I finished up my senior year at Hobart. I did an honors thesis with Nick in painting, which was also one of the most transformative experiences of my life. If any of you are considering doing an honors project or are in an honors project, I wish that we could trade places. It was such an incredible experience just working with him on that level of, it was just a very intimate experience, working with him on that. And he knew that the moment that I graduated, that I most likely was not going to pick up a paintbrush again. And that's really the truth. I graduated, I moved to Boston, lived with some friends from Hobart for a while, and went to Boston University. I knew that I wanted to continue my schooling. I got my license in project management. I also was not ready to live in New York, but I also wanted to be with my friends from college, just like you probably all want to. I moved into an apartment with 3 friends from school. It was kind of like a continuation of Geneva, but in Boston. I got to really spend time with all of my friends from Hobart that moved to Boston. And then I decided to really take a chance and leave that comfort zone. And I moved to San Francisco, and a gallery that I was very captivated by called Hackett Friedman was, at that time, there was not online promotion and, applications and things like that are available now. It just was a different time. And I went to every gallery. I dropped off my resume. I really tried to put myself out there, and I landed a position at Hackett Friedman. And when I was there, primarily a painting gallery, a modernist American painting gallery. And when I was there, I worked with only one other person who was from California, who either was from California or this was all of their professional experience was in California. Everybody else was a New York City art world transplant that moved to the West Coast. So I was super intimidated by these people. I mean, they were like fast paced, they were direct, they were like aggressive, like they were very much used to the pace of the New York art world. But I was like, I am going to learn so much from these people. I want to form alliances with them, and I have just as much to bring to the conversation as they do. And when I was there, it was an incredible experience working with a ton of different people. And my boss at the gallery, unfortunately, two business partners, after 25 years, they decided they were going to part ways, do different things. The gallery closed. And my boss at the gallery, who I am still extremely close with, was interviewing for another gallery called Franco Gallery. And he knew that I was interested in photography. He knew that I was probably most likely going to continue working in the arts if I could. And he actually did not. Like he was able to get an interview there, but he ended up going to medical school, and now he's a physician's assistant, like totally 180. But he told the interviewer, he's like, you know, I really appreciate that you want to have this conversation with me. I'm actually not going to want to pursue another conversation with you, but there's another colleague of mine that you should really speak to. So here was the chance where I really got to see, when you work with people that you trust and that trust you, and you work hard to build relationships with your classmates, with your professors, and you really strive to support other people and their goals, and vice versa, it does come back. It really does. And here was this opportunity where someone believed in me. They saw that I wanted to continue this trajectory. They would have never known about me had this person not have put my name in the hat. And a day later, they sent me an interview request. They asked me for my credentials. I sent them over, and I got the job. And this is actually where I want to start the slideshow. Brianna, do I just share the screen? Is that what I do? Okay, cool. All right. Okay, so how does this work? Okay, cool. So the first exhibition that I worked closely on was a photographer named Richard Mizrak. This is Franco Gallery. This is in 2009. Richard Mizrak is a photographer based in San Francisco who is very much inspired by building work based around the American West. He was inspired by artists like Walker Evans and Dorothea Lange, and wanted to really find a way to create these landscape-based photographs about the land and about the earth. And he built this exhibition through the means of digital photography. He experimented with taking the negative and switching the negative, so it's actually a positive. And what you see on the screen is actually positive I'm sorry, I don't have a closer shot, but these are positive inversion photographs. I know it looks like this is an iceberg, but it's actually a rock formation on a beach in Oregon. This is brambles of twigs in an area in the desert in Southern California. And this is actually formations of water, water movements. And this was the first time that I had the chance to work with people that advocated for large scale photography. And, this was a very different type of photography that I ever saw or ever thought existed before. A year later, Franco Gallery decided to do a 4-gallery exhibition, choosing one artist from the representative. It was 4 galleries in San Francisco: Franco Gallery, Ratio 3, John Berggruen Gallery, and Altman Siegel. So 4 San Francisco-based galleries. They asked one artist that's represented by the gallery to curate a show at their home gallery, utilizing inventory from the other 3 galleries. So it was this incredible opportunity getting back to like relationships and collaboration and really people helping each other. This was an amazing opportunity for the gallery to work within San Francisco to promote all four galleries together. This is a exhibition, an installated piece by an artist named Barry McGee. He's a San Francisco-based graffiti artist and photographer and sculptor. And this was a site-specific piece called Untitled 2010 that he made specifically for the exhibition. In 2009, Franco Gallery received a letter in the mail from a photographer from London named Richard Leroy, just a cold artist submission, who wanted to let us know about camera obscura photographs that he was preparing, which means you're working with a camera that there is actually not a negative that could then produce multiple prints. It was a direct exposure from the camera onto a large scale sheet of paper. So these are actually unique photographs of a woman and a man sitting on a table or a tabletop, where you don't have the chance to experiment with taking the negative, doing different types of prints to see what print you actually think looks the most successful. You get one shot. To direct exposure from the camera onto the sheet of paper. And these are large. These are about 7 feet tall by 5 feet wide. So this was an incredible exhibition where we debuted Richard Leroy to the San Francisco art world. And he has since gone on to do incredible exhibitions all around the world, including a show at the Victoria and Albert Museum in London last year. Katie Grannon. Katie Grannon is a San Francisco photographer, portrait-based photographer who we're going to look at actually a couple different slides of her work. She loves people. She loves meeting people. She loves having conversations with people. She loves the exchange that happens within energy between different human beings. And Katie joined Franco Gallery prior to my matriculation into the staff, but she came to the gallery. I was her liaison, and she came to the gallery with this idea that she had just came back from LA. She met a woman named Jean who lives her life as Marilyn Monroe. She impersonates Marilyn Monroe. She wears different sorts of clothes that Marilyn Monroe would wear. And Katie was immediately captivated by her and asked her if she could photograph her, not knowing at all what was going to come from the experience of taking a photograph together. But she placed her on Hollywood Boulevard in the middle of the day, around 1:30, 2 o'clock, standing in front of a white stuccoed backdrop, thinking about the incredible photography of Richard Avedon. If any of you know or do not know that his name, but if any of you are photographers are interested in taking a look at a photographer who captures images of people, definitely look him up. He did an incredible series called In the America West, which were mostly people in coal mines or people in parts of Texas and Utah and Wyoming, and photographed these communities of coal mine workers. But it was the light, it was the natural light, and this person standing in front of a white backdrop that Katie wanted to continue to explore. She ended up meeting more people through Jean, including Melissa, another wanderer from LA. The thing is like, these are actually like uncomfortable photographs. They're not people that maybe you and I all know, but they're people, and maybe they live lower, like more repressed lives that we do, but they are just as important in the earth as much as we are. And they see themselves as glamorous. They see themselves as people that are movie stars and people. I mean, I think that the expression on this woman's face is just extraordinary. Like, she has lived life. She has seen many things during the course of her existence. And from the relationship of Jean and Melissa, Katie then continued taking more photographs. And came to us with probably like 50 or 60 different people that she had met. Besides Jean and Melissa, where she actually built a relationship with them, the majority of the other people were very anonymous. She would meet them, she would speak with them very briefly, she would photograph them. It would be like an exchange of 5 or 10 minutes. And this woman actually lives in San Francisco. She lives her life, she's probably in her 70s now, but she was like a horror film movie actress. Like she loved Hitchcock, she loved Tim Burton, and Katie just thought that she was just like a movie star and loved her. And these are some of the several photographs that Franco Gallery showed, and do men and women in different size formats. And this was the first chance where I was involved with an exhibition that really was about people, really about viewers coming into the space to have their own conversations and interactions with these photographs. And due to the success of the show then showed in New York a year later and was a museum show called The Sun and the Stars at LACMA in LA. And this is actually me a long time ago. And Frisch Brandt, the president of Franco Gallery. Katie, this is the artist. I mean, look how beautiful she is. Britt Salveson, the photography curator at the museum. My colleague at the time, Darius Hines, and this is Katie Grannon's husband. So here's this incredible, a woman meets a woman, they have a photograph, then through this woman, she meets more people, and then it becomes a gallery show, and then due to the success of the gallery show, a museum sees the importance of the show and then wants to make it a museum show. About a year went on from that experience, and Franco Gallery was interested in doing an exhibition with a gallery in New York, specifically a way to pull a great American artist, Americanist, painter, with a photographer. And we decided to do a show with Charles Birchfield. If any of you do not know who this painter is and loves American painting, he lives his entire life in Buffalo, New York, not far from you guys. And there is a museum devoted to his life and his career called the Birchfield Penny Center. When the world changes, I highly advise all of you to try to go. If any of you need access to the museum, like, let me know. We have a close connection at DC Moore with the foundation and the museum. But so this was my first opportunity of meeting the crew at DC Moore. We decided to work with them on securing Charles Birchfield watercolors, and we paired them with Ralph Eugene Meatyard photographs. And it was this incredible exhibition. Like, it was, not only was it perceived very positively, but now I have a chance to actually meet a gallery in New York that I really cared for. I thought they were super professional and so nice and extremely collegial. And I never forgot that. When I knew that someday down the road, I probably might want to return to the East Coast, and I will never forget that I want to keep them close into my pocket, knowing that maybe I might want to work with them again someday, or have some sort of connection to a project, or just keep that line of communication open. So a year later, I ended up moving to New York and spent some time at a very large gallery called Matthew Marks Gallery. But I never forgot how I felt working with this gallery and how much I just really enjoyed the exhibition process from start to finish. So a year later, I ended up leaving Matthew Marks and coming to DC Moore. This is actually our current exhibition. This is a painter named Eric Aho. Any of you are interested or inspired or captivated by just the power of the landscape, the connections that a person could have with the land, specifically the New England landscape, Eric is someone you're definitely going to want to look up outside of this conversation. This is his 7th show with us, and it's up now through the 7th of November. But Eric has always been this painter based in southern Vermont who has been looking at the key plein air artists of our world, including Hans Hofmann and Wolf Kahn and Avery and people like that. And he really goes out into the world and finds these emotional connections to the psychology of the landscape and makes these extraordinary paintings that a very large emphasis of the show right now is formations of water, like water clashes. He was looking at a lot of like Marston Hartley landscapes and really Marston Hartley's time in Maine and the kind of clashing of like the water on rocks and looking at Winslow Homeler and, you know, people like that. And so these are very large paintings. They're 90 by 80 inches. These are 3 that kind of anchor the front exhibition wall when you walk into the gallery. And they're just extraordinary. They're lush. They're like full of energy. They have like unexpected colors that come in and out that weave through the canvases. Like they're just action-packed paintings, and you really feel, especially at a time right now where there is somber, there is, you know, this sadness in our world. We wanted to really create an experience with Eric that people can step into these paintings and find tranquility. They can find just pleasure, which is the most important thing. Kind of stepping back a little bit, we represent this really a phenomenal female artist named Joyce Kozloff, who is in her 70s. She has built a career based off of doing site-specific monumental public art, mosaic projects, working with different cities to create urban representations of things that are applicable to a specific city. Like she was born in New Jersey, but New York City being such a huge inspiration of her entire career, she has done very incredible, huge presentations based off of aspects of New York. And this was a show that we did in 2015. This is actually a 9-panel painting. We're gonna look at another profile of it, you know, a couple more slides down, but patterns, maps, topography. When she was a little girl, when she was 3 or 4, she would rip out pages of atlas books at her parents' house in New Jersey, not even knowing what atlases were, but she just was so captivated by colors and line and really like the structure of spaces within maps. And we wanted to really devote one entire show on these incredible large scale paintings. They're all cut construction paper and Mylar paper, and they're all collage. They're all elements of levels of different materials layered on top of one another. And I had never heard of her before. I had probably seen an image here or there, maybe in an art history book, but I was immediately captivated by how I felt moving through these paintings. Little switch of media. This is Ralph Eugene Meatyard, the first artist that connected me with DC Moore a couple years prior to this. We've done 2 shows with Meatyard. He is a Kentucky, but he's no longer living. He died in 1974, but he was a self-taught photographer who spent his entire life as an optician, having an eyeglass business, being the real eyeglass doctor for his community in rural Kentucky, but also saw the means of a camera as a way for him to stay connected with his children and his wife. So on the weekends, you know, he would work in his practice Monday through Friday, and on the weekends he would go off on these incredible adventures with his family to national parks, to abandoned barns and yards. And, you know, he really saw the area around Lexington, Kentucky, which is where he lived, as the inspiration for all of his entire photographic practice. He unfortunately found out in 1972 that he was very ill of stomach cancer, and he knew that the time was probably going to come for him to say goodbye to the earth. And he decided to recreate an entire family photo album. So a photo album that existed in their home of like his wife and his daughter and his two sons and his niece and nephews and relatives and neighbors. And he decided to recreate every single page in the photo album, the scenarios in the photo album, but by creating fictitious characters. So he bought these like masks at a Halloween store, or not a Halloween store, but it was like a five and dime Woolworth kind of store. Like something relevant would maybe be like a Walgreens or CVS now. So we recreated from page one to the last page every single exact scenario that was in the album. And on the very last page of the book, in the very last photograph, and there were 56 in the entire sequence, the very last was just a photograph of he and his wife. And on the very, like a few days after that photograph was made, he passed away. So it was a real way for him to tell his family, this is about you, this is about my love for you. And, you know, to end with his wife was like this incredible tribute to their life together. So we decided to hang them, you can see in this like clean grid, and they were groupings of 4 different groups. We didn't show the entire series. The actual entire series, the entire series is actually in the collection of the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art, but these are other prints from, they were not editioned, but he made a few from the negative. So the entire complete set is at SF MoMA, and there are, you know, maybe 1 or 2 extra prints from the negatives, and we showed 22 of them. And when we laid out the show, due to the vision of Bridget Moore, our president, my boss, incredible visionary, she said to me, you know, Peter, why don't we try to like cluster the prints together? It might be like a really cool way for people to kind of go through chapter 1 and then go through chapter 2. And we think it was pretty successful. This is a show that we did in 2018 by an artist, a New York-based painter named Michael Stamm, who made these incredible paintings that were about therapy, that were about relationships that a person would have in session with a therapist. And these were all one-on-one conversations, or perceived as one-on-one conversations during therapy sessions, dealing with anxiety, dealing with like fear, and a chance for us to really promote a younger artist. Dwayne Michaels, some of you might know his name. I know that Nick is a fan, as am I. He's 88 years old, and we have done 5 shows with him at the gallery. We organized his American retrospective, we organized his European retrospective, and we just did this really amazing show at the Morgan Library in New York last year. I just wanted to show this installation picture of like, to show you the way in which we can lay out photographs. Like these are all, this is actually all one work in a story, like, you know, print 1, 2. So if you make your way through the grid, it really tells a specific adventure that Dwayne went on. And we decided to kind of stagger them. So, you know, it's like, we thought about it as like a typewriter, like you're typing and then you move the typewriter over. You know, great way for us to just really show work in a different format. Carrie Moyer, a painter who also lives in New York, and very much has been inspired by a lot of the great color field artists, including Helen Frankenthaler, Morris Louis, Elizabeth Murray, the shaped canvases that Murray has made during her lifetime. This was actually a picture from her first show. We'll have her 3rd show in February of next year, and we have her first major, almost 500-page book coming out next September. I'm like deep in the trenches of that right now, but if any of you are like, just love color, love forms, love pouring of textures, she's definitely someone that you'll want to look up. We don't also just do exhibitions in our own space. Oftentimes, exhibitions that might begin at DC Moore might take on another life someplace else. A curator in Dallas, Texas, who I did not know at all, sent me an email saying, I really love Carrie's work. Would you be open to working with me on an exhibition in Dallas, Texas? I was very flattered by the email inquiry. I asked him if he had some recommendations of references in New York that I could touch base with to see if this person is as legitimate as he is. Now I know that, we've done the project. I spoke with a few other colleagues in New York at other galleries that did projects with him, and received nothing but 2 thumbs up all the way. And he had access to this row home in a historic area in Dallas, Texas, and asked Carrie to make all new work for the space for one evening, just one night. So the actual house was 2 rooms. The front room was 3 paintings that I could show you, but I thought it would be much more interesting to show the back of the house. When we did the site visit in Dallas before the show, probably about like 6 or 7 months before the show opened for that one day, April 12th, all behind this is wainscoting. These like incredible lines of great shapes and texture, and Carrie really wanted to capitalize on that. So we worked with a wallpaper designer in Brooklyn, and Carrie drew 5 different types of designs of wallpaper, and then we installed, you can see how the dots are really small here and then large here. They're actually, the modulations of shape and form kind of go from top to bottom. So Carrie decided to cover the whole space, and then there was a farm directly next door to the house. We asked them if we could borrow a pallet, put the pallet on the floor, and then all the extra prints, we gave them away, and we stamped them on the back, like one night only, Carrie Moyer. And then it was a way for people to come and have a little Carrie Moyer to take home with them. And we had over 5,000 people come for one night. All of the work sold to different collectors. And now, besides the pieces that are out in the world, we were able to save all of the wall remnants, and hopefully we'll maybe do something with that again. Whitfield Lavelle. Not only do we show exhibitions at our actual physical space, but we also do art fairs. It's really important. We will see what the world will be after COVID-19. Hopefully will come to its end. Who knows what that will be, but something that's really important in a gallery's lifeline is doing art fairs. And we try really hard at DC Moore to do really curated exhibitions. Yes, they're for 4 or 5 days, but it's worth it to us. We do these very specific shows within a art fair context. And this was a really beautiful one that we did right before COVID-19 actually found its way, that we all knew about in the US. And so this is an African-American artist, Black artist based in New York, who has built his entire career examining the apartheid movement and really the migration from the South to the North, looking at admiration to Romare Bearden and Jacob Lawrence, and even people like Carrie Mae Weems, and younger African Black artists, including Kara Walker, Shabala Self. He makes these incredible Conti charcoal drawings. So think about any of you that are in an intro to drawing class or has taken that. These are these meticulous, painstaking drawings of anonymous people, marrying them with these collage elements. And they're huge. I mean, these are 7 feet tall by 5 feet wide. And he made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 of them for the fair. And, here's just a really great example of a totally different type of presentation. We also exhibit at Art Basel. It's the most prestigious art fair in the world. If any of you are interested in knowing more about art fairs and just what they entail, definitely go to Art Basel's website. We did a solo presentation in 2017 of these incredible photo collage pieces by Romir Bearden. Thought it was really great to see them in juxtaposed with the red. And then most recently, this was Art Basel just this past December, and we did a presentation on 3 artists that were part of the early 1980s, 1985 pattern and decoration group in New York. So Joyce Kozloff, who I mentioned earlier, Valerie Jordan, and Robert Kushner. And we showed this incredible sphere that you could actually step into. These are all maps, getting back to Kozloff's fascination with topography and map making. So these are all, and her work is also highly political. So inside this globe is all maps of different places around the world where the US bombed. This is again that 9-panel piece that we showed in 2015. You know, sometimes it takes a while for works to find their homes. This, due to the success of this specific presentation, this did find an incredible permanent home. Actually, the collectors, when we went to do the site visit with the collectors, they have a home, they have a room in their home that's a square, and we decided to install the entire piece around all 4 walls of the room. So it's like you walk into the room and it's like you're completely encompassed around Kozloff. So that is it. I wanted to just really show you some visuals of different ways, how do I close this? Different ways in which galleries exist and the different types of presentations that one can take to perceive art. One of the things that I thought would be really important, since I talked about Ted and Nick and Philia and these incredible role models that I continue to be super close with, I'm very fortunate to have my connection with them. One of the things that they always taught me at school, and I really hope that all of you really try to really think about this and find your own connection with it, but they really taught me about leadership. They taught me about role models. They taught me about ways in which I can be connected to people. And one of the most incredible role models I ever had after leaving them when I graduated was the president of Franco Gallery, Frisch Brandt, who was my boss in San Francisco. And as I had mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, she curated this show, and I spoke with her and I asked her if I could talk about her for a moment, because something that's going to happen for all of you when you finish college is like you will continue to find your way. You will lean on people like myself for support and resources. You will continue to meet new people that will challenge you and motivate you and push you and find ways in which maybe you're not in a comfort zone, but push you out of that comfort zone to grow. And Frisch was one of those people that really shook me up, and she saw potential in what I really wanted to do with artists. And this was the first opportunity that I really saw her see a vision that was so true to herself. And she made this incredible video, and I asked her if I can show it. And she was very touched that I asked her. And this is about COVID-19, and this is about the show that's on view. It ends tomorrow. So if you have a chance, go to francogallery.com and you can view images of the exhibition. But I thought this would be something really great for you to see.
Mr. Gehenner's piece, I'm not the only one, is going to look familiar to you.
Share your screen again.
It would have, likely, a year ago. Now we have what I call COVID choirs, symphonies and choirs that come together from near and far, singing Mahler, singing Beethoven.
Can you all see this?
I tried to,
Oh, wait.
I tried to
I'm
get
so
your,
sorry.
you're
I'm
fine.
sorry about that. Okay, I get to start it again.
Okay,
Right, hold on.
perfect.
Sorry about that, everybody. Okay. Can everybody see this? Okay, all right, cool.
Mr. Gehenner's piece, I'm not the only one who's going to look familiar to you, but it wouldn't have likely a year ago. Now we have what I call COVID choirs, symphonies and choirs that come together from near and far, singing Mahler, singing Beethoven, performing together on one screen. But I don't remember that before COVID. When Mishka did this in 2015, he was thinking about talent shows. He was thinking about reality television and shows like Britain's Got Talent. He thought, what's the perfect song that I can bring a lot of people together over? And he thought of Sam Smith's song, I'm Not the Only One. And he sourced all these individual videos on YouTube and wove them together so that all of these people singing this heartbreak song earnestly in their bedrooms, in their makeshift studios, have now been brought together. So while they're singing I'm Not the Only One, they really aren't the only one. They've all come together. This idea is in many ways the cornerstone of this exhibition. The show was inspired by the process of our Frankel Gallery team working together from afar, all from their separate quarters in the universe. Before the pandemic, we were certain that the gallery was only a brick and mortar enterprise, that you had to be there and see the art in person and talk about it in person. We've learned that we can work together from afar. This exhibition is a tribute to the team at Frankel Gallery, a tribute to our artists, a tribute to our collectors, a tribute to the ways that connecting can take place. In the salon style hanging of the main gallery are works of art by artists we have shown for all 40 years. Some that are newer to us and some by unknown makers, and all who in some way, long before this pandemic, managed to capture a feeling of isolation. But it isn't only sorrowful. In aloneness, there can be elation, like in Helen Levitt's picture of the man sitting on his car bumper, singing maybe? Or Ralph Eugene Meard's image of his daughter, Melissa, stretched out on the rocks. And then there's the reverie in this photograph by Nan Golden and Peter Hujar's portrait of Chuck. Katie Grannon's picture of Shotzi is a model of social distancing long before social distancing was a phrase that just tumbled off our lips. Johnny Chapman is an artist that came to our attention thanks to Richard Misrak in his show last summer called Another West. Johnny's been photographing himself out in national parks. There he is, distant in this glacial landscape. His silhouette standing there alone, a wonderful litmus test for each of us. There in the universe, our thumbprint in this vast beauty of the world. The piece that ends the show mirrors the one that opens it. Kristen Markley's Telephones, made in 1995, is all about the desires and the difficulties of connecting. In Telephones, Kristen weaves together telephones dialed, telephones ringing, telephones answered, people answering, slamming the phone down, messages exchanged with each other, almost like shuffling a deck. There is the earnest effort to communicate and the sometimes unlikely capacity to connect, which is something I think we can all relate to now. In many ways, this show acknowledges the double helix of isolation and connection. Our exhibition is really about the indubitable energy we are all experiencing towards coming together in ways and in depths that we've never known before. It's one hope. It's our hope that you'll find something here that will strike a familiar chord to make you feel more connected with us, with our artists, with the vision, and with this time that we are all living through together.
So I thought that would be kind of a nice way to just kind of bring it all together. And, you know, I think it's really important that you all be looking at work, thinking about your own work in this regard. Um, and yeah. Is there any questions or any thoughts or comments that I can expand upon?
Don't be shy, you guys. If you have a question, no matter what it is, you can ask.
Don't be shy.
Okay. What do you say to people that say an art major won't lead to a career?
Oh, I think that the person that asked that question doesn't know what they're talking about. I think that there is opportunities for everyone that are interested in the visual arts. And, you know, I think that you should just say that um, there are actually plenty of opportunities, and that's it. You know, like I think that I remember when I was in school too, I wasn't exactly sure what was going to come from my education, but I believed in myself, as you all do as well. So
What are some ways that you've seen this industry change through COVID? Like that video was actually really interesting to see how um, differently people are seeing different forms of art with isolation and stuff now that we are all isolated and dealing with isolation.
yeah.
But in general, what are some ways that you've seen the industry change over the past like 6 or 9 months?
You know, when COVID first hit, we had just gone through 3 different back-to-back art fairs in New York, one of which I showed you that one picture. And so we were in like the thick of the season. We were just trying to really kind of keep the business moving forward. And then you know, the shutdown occurred. And what I think that has really happened for the art world, which I think is a good thing, is I feel like people are connecting more than they ever have before. In a time in the past where I think people were more controlling of information, or people wanted to not share proprietary information, I feel like people have been way more transparent and open and honest and direct than ever before, which is something that I've always wanted for the art world. I feel like I have met different people through the years now since when I first began, but in the beginning, I just really struggled to find down to earth people in the art world. Like it was just on the gallery side. I can't speak for other, you know, museums and things, but what I think has happened now is I feel like people are really trying to create experiences. I really think that people are trying to find ways to at least keep curiosities strong and keep people captivated by just looking at works on a screen. I understand it's not the same as if we were all in the gallery together. That's why I started the conversation by saying I really wish we were all in DC more, just looking at work together and chatting in the space. But I still think that there's a lot of inspiration that could come from hearing people speak, from looking at ways in which pairings of work come together. And, you know, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to just show that video from Frisch, because she was my boss. She is someone who I will hopefully continue to be very close with for the rest of my life. And she wanted to really build a show to allow people to feel like they can actually still enjoy art at a time when maybe they don't feel comfortable going into a gallery space or being in a classroom in some instances, like maybe some of you are experiencing right now. So I am optimistic. I do feel like we will get through this time. I think that we all take things day by day. Some days I'm stronger and some days I'm weaker, but I also feel that specifically with the gallery, I work with, and one of my favorite things about DC Moore is I work with 7 incredibly brilliant people, and we all lean on each other. Like there's days when, you know, I might be really upset or scared or anxious or nervous, and another colleague will lift me up. And then there'll be a day where they're feeling that way, and I try to lift them up. So I think it's really important that, and I'm hopeful that you all are doing that for each other on campus. And I mean, you have the golden professors right here with you. You have like Alicia, you have Nick, you have Ted, you have Philia, you have all these people that just have so much incredible resources to give to you, and really try to take advantage of that, because you know there's a lot that will come from those exchanges.
Thank you.
Or could you, oh, hey, Dan, how are you? Could you talk a little more about how a gallery typically identifies potential candidates for group shows, especially as it applies to early career artists in New York? Ooh. How does the conversation start, develop, assuming there isn't an open call for work? You know, a lot of times we find out about artists through other artists that we have a close relationship with. So we might be working with one specific artist and they know the type of work we like. They might know things that we're interested in, and they will recommend us to artists that maybe we might want to have a conversation with towards a group show. So my advice is, Dan, I would be trying to really associate yourself or be connected with other artists that you respect and artists that you feel respect you. And it's a very organic way in which gallerists connect with the artists. The saying of like artists, you know, submitting submissions to a gallery, you know, doesn't really happen anymore. Unfortunately, we receive copious amounts of submissions, and unfortunately, and the truth is, we just don't have the time to look through all of them. But it's again through the connections and like the relationships you have with your friends and colleagues in the art world, really just trying to have an introduction come through someone else that you know is helpful.
Thanks, Peter.
It's good to see you.
Likewise.
I hope that what I shared with you all provided a little bit of inspiration this evening. And look, you all have a super, super tough job. You're in college. It's hard. Like, I get it. But enjoy this time and really see this as an opportunity to really explore yourself as much as you want and keep in contact. You know, like once this is all over, I hope you all come to New York. I hope you all come to DC more and see me and see the gallery. And I'll make sure that Brianna has all of my contact information that she can share with all of you. And if there's a question or anything you want to ask that maybe you don't feel a little bit as comfortable in this forum, like don't hesitate, like reach out at any time. So.
Awesome.
I just wanted to say thank you, Peter, for giving us your time.
I hope this was helpful. I really enjoyed seeing you all, and please keep in touch, okay?
Thank you so much, Peter. And yes, if any of you are interested in getting in touch with him and connecting, please feel free to reach out and we will put you in touch.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Peter. Have a great night.
Yeah, take care, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.